Hello and welcome to the Gleam fishing channel. I'm Darren Guard, your host, and today we've got a special guest. We have Captain Richard King, or Dick, as he's been known previously, and so Dick's been around a long time in Port Nelson. Certainly been adjusting a heck of a lot of compasses. For those of you that don't know, for commercial vessels, you've got to have a magnetic compass, and it's got to be adjusted every few years or when it's outside 5 degrees. If you don't have a decent compass, you get lost. So it's as simple as that. And Dick's been around forever doing that as a service for a lot of fishing vessels and a lot of other commercial vessels. So yeah, welcome, Dick.
Thank you very much, Darren.
I see I did a bit of a Google search on you, as I do with all my guests, and I see, crikey, you've had positions at the Nelson Harbour Board, Harbour Master, Chief Pilot, Tug Master. You set up your basically Compass Marine in 1981. It sounds like that's when you went out to do your compass adjusting, but you've been a bit of a busy guy.
Yes, well, when I came to Nelson, the fishermen thought I was the new. Well, apparently, the previous pilot that I replaced had been a compass adjuster, and I was the new compass adjuster. And I didn't have any inclination to be one at that stage.
What? So you just went and introduced yourself, and they assumed you're the compass adjuster.
That's what they assumed. Yes.
Yeah. So you're telling me after 50 years of adjusting compasses, you were never a compass adjuster? I assume there's a qualification required, Dick.
It's treated me very well because I still get the occasional requirement, yeah. And so I've been at it a long time now.
And you're bloody good at it. Look, I know that you did all of the compasses for all the guard boats. Guards Fisheries Nelson, you'll remember that. So, we'd throw you on the boat and then round the back there by Sealord and doing all the different headings and that, and you'd have your little tool kit there with your hammer and your tacks and your magnets and all of that paraphernalia. And I mean, it was just witchcraft to us, really. And but it was definitely a bit of a skill to it for sure.
Yeah, Dr. Dick's box of tricks was.
Nice.
One Bright Spark wrote that on my box that I had at the time. Dr. Dick's box of tricks.
Perfect. I like that. That's bloody good, isn't it? Excellent. Hey, so just going backwards a bit, so we'll talk about your compass adjusting and that shortly, but your background, like where were you born, what was your upbringing? Obviously you've had a huge career in maritime, which we'll talk about soon, but like where do you come from? What a little bit about your upbringing?
Well, I'm a Nelson-born Nelsonian.
Here. Well done. More power to you.
But my father was a farmer, and he went up to the North Island to Taranaki because he was very keen on being a dairy farmer, and that's where I was brought up, on a dairy farm in North Taranaki. And I got struck with polio when I was 9 years old, and the New Plymouth Hospital looked out over the water, and I see ships at anchor out there, and I'm thinking, that sounds much more interesting being a dairy than being a farmer. And that's what really got me going on this whole lifetime.
So what? So you're in hospital and you looked out and saw some ships. It's really, that's incredible. Like, it's funny when I ask that question, what got you into maritime, for most of our guests, there's like one point in time, It was like one thing they saw, they were involved in, or they were told, and bang, that's the beginning of the rest of their life. It's amazing.
That was the beginning of mine, yeah.
Yeah, no, that's
and
fantastic.
Also the book that I written by Joshua Slocum, which it just fascinated me, the whole story of his life.
Oh, so the old Joshua Slocum and the Spray.
That started about the same time.
Right. So that's obviously the first man that sailed around the world single-handed, and he wrote a book, and that's, I guess, for the viewers. So it's called, what's the book actually called, Dick?
It's just called Sailing Alone Around the World.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I've actually got a copy of it, and I would highly suggest that our viewers get into it. Like, it's obviously an old one. And I remember, and I know you and I have talked about this, and it was something that my grandfather, Jack Guard, used to talk about, and my dad still laughs about it, was one of the things that he used to do. So you imagine back in when was it? Was back in the 1800s? Was it early 19s?
I can't remember the actual date. Yeah,
18 something, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So you imagine a credible guy sailing around the world by himself in an old scow, and I believe it was an old sailing vessel.
It was an old oyster boat.
That's right, an old Chesapeake Bay oyster boat. He converted, and he's sailing around the world, and apparently when he anchored, went to new places, and he was worried about the locals may not have been so friendly. He would, before he went, he'd anchor, and before he went to bed, you know what I'm going to say, don't you? And he'd sprinkle copper tacks all over the deck. So, you know, the locals back then, wherever they were, didn't have shoes. So if he was at anchor in a bay somewhere and they'd row out in their dugout canoe and jump on board and might have had some, you know, dodgy intent, he said it saved him several times where you get woken up late at night or early hours in the morning with yelling and screaming as the locals jump on board bare feet and stand on all the tacks. And then quickly, with the yelling and screaming out, he would come with his shotgun and problem solved. And I think every morning he'd have to sweep the 20-pounder tacks up, put them back in the sack, ready for the next night, didn't he?
That's exactly right. Yeah, it's all in the book.
Yeah, fascinating story. So I definitely recommend that. So, yeah, so you were in hospital for polio, and that's well, that was a big thing many years ago, wasn't it? You don't see so much of it now. So you obviously came out okay, although pretty tough at the time.
Yeah, well, everybody thought when I said I was going to go to sea, they said no, you can't do that, but I thought I could, and so I did.
The mind is strong, isn't it? Without a doubt. Yeah. So you grew up dairy farming, by the sounds of it, Taranaki, born in Nelson, excellent. So good, like obviously farming is a good segue into a life at sea and vice versa, because you get used to that discipline and physical work and all those things. So you went to sea. What did you go to sea on, as, where?
Well, my father came out from England, and he was went to school in England, and he had his sisters in England, and he said, if you're going to be a sailor, he said, you've got to go to England, because they know how to teach people to be sailors.
The Union Shipping Company and all of those things.
He didn't want me in the Union Shipping Company. He wanted me in the English ships that came out from England to New Zealand. And that was the start of it. And he sacrificed quite a lot to send me as a passenger on a ship called the Rangitata, passenger ship, to England to learn to be a sailor.
What was that trip like? A lot of people don't realise, Dick, do they, that most of us got here by ships coming out from the UK or other parts of the world. How long did that take? Can you remember that? Was that a bit of a mission?
It was a 6-week trip. I was 16. We stopped at Pitcairn Island, so that was an experience, meeting all these Pitcairn Islanders with their big feet and all their nice trinkets that they used to sell. And we stopped at Panama. While we were there, I was only there sort of overnight one night. The rest of the time was spent in the canal. The president at the time got shot. We went ashore and got chased back to the ship in a hurry because the whole place got locked down in martial law of some sort. But and then it was the sea part of it. Sea passage was pretty uneventful. There was no storms or anything like that. But then my cousin picked me up at Southampton and took me back to his mother's place in London.
Wow.
That was my home then for the next 5 years, basically. Whenever I came back from sea, I stayed with my aunt. I had 2 aunts that I stayed with from time to time in London. So
was there like a cadet program or something over there you had to go through, and then you got on the local ships? How did that work?
Well, I went to it was a pre-arranged 3 months at a pre-sea nautical school in London, and so I did the 3 months, which that was fantastic as far as I was concerned. I was really learning stuff that I really wanted to know, because I hadn't been very keen of learning when I was at high school in Taranaki. This was much more interesting, and we used to get out on the Thames in boats and row up and down the river, and it was just and mates whose thinking was the same as mine. So that was a great time.
Yeah, perfect.
And then I from there the opportunity to go back to sea as an apprentice. That's what I did.
So you spent quite a few years at sea. Did you so you worked your way up the ladder, or you sort of got sick of it and come back to New Zealand? What sort of happened?
I did 4 years in a British company that sailed from the UK to West Africa and Southwest Africa and up to Congo and places like that.
Wow, you got around.
And then across to America, the United States. So I had 4 years, just under 4 years there, got my second mate's ticket, and went from there to another company that ran out to New Zealand called Portline. They were a well-known, very good shipping company. Brought me out to New Zealand. I got home for the first time in 5 years from there.
That's a long break, isn't it?
Yeah, it was a long break. I think of my poor mother. She must have been quite worried about me at times. And I had two sisters, because I was part of a family of five. Two sisters, and they wrote to me regularly. My mother wrote to me regularly. And eventually, Portline, I was able to get home. And but another 2 or 3 years there, and I decided I'd had enough of going to sea. That's when I came ashore then and drove milk tankers for a while.
Well, that's a change, isn't it?
Which was
yeah. So back to the dairy again then. So straight back to the dairy.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah. Well, I'd had enough of going to sea, and I'd been away from home for so long. I thought I got to do, and I went down to Inglewood Motors, which was the local firm, and said, "If you got a job," this was in the summertime, and they pointed to an old truck in the corner. They said, "Take that truck out," and there's a farmer out in the country there who's got a paddock full of hay, and he's got to be shifted. So I took the truck out to the hay paddock, and the lady of the farm said, "Get out of the cab." She said, "You get on the back, you're loading, I'm driving." And I was wasn't all that fit at that stage. So that was the beginning of 2 years I had ashore. But after 2 years driving in hay paddocks and towing milk tankers around, I was the only tanker driver, I think, in New Zealand who had a foreign-going mate's ticket. And,
it's a bit odd, isn't it? Driving a milk tanker with a foreign ticket, foreign masters. Yeah.
I only got to do another 6 months at sea and I'd get a master's ticket. And that's what I did. I went to one of the coastal companies in New Zealand, and did another 6 or 9 months, and got sufficient sea time for a master's ticket. And I did that in Auckland, and that's far up the ladder as I went.
Well, it's pretty much the top of the ladder, to be fair, Dick. I mean, foreign-going masters. I'm not unless they've invented it, I'm not aware of any maritime qualification higher than that. So
there's one called Extra Masters, but
of course there is.
Yeah, but
Extra Masters.
That's a special one.
Sounds like I've never heard of it. So I've had a lifetime in the industry, but I know that's pretty cool. So where did that? So you came back here, finish your masters, but what did you do sort of after that? Like, did you jump on any New Zealand coasters?
No, well, there was a big dredging operation going on in New Plymouth.
Yep.
And they were looking for masters for their little hopper barges that carried the spoil out to sea and dumped it. And I got a job there, and that was 2 years' worth, and that was a great experience because a little hopper barge, probably about 100 feet long, tied up to a bucket dredge, which filled the hopper barge, and away you went out to sea, dumped it, came back, and the dredge was always on the move. So it was like being on a ship and coming alongside a moving wharf. Jeez. And it taught me a lot about ship handling.
It would, definitely.
Yes, yeah.
It would.
And that stood me in good stead when there was a job advertised in Nelson, and a mate of mine said, "There's a job in Nelson." I said, "Okay, I'll be in for that." And it was the fact that I'd been on this dredge and on the little hopper barge, and I'd had the experience, which was basically pilotage experience.
I was going to say, very similar to the role of a pilot, isn't it?
Yeah, ship handling experience.
Yeah, definitely.
Which I thoroughly enjoyed.
Yep.
And I got the job in Nelson as the junior pilot and tugmaster. I wasn't the dredge master, but I was the junior pilot and tugmaster. And that's when I that's when I basically got back to Nelson, where I've been ever since.
When was that roughly, Dick?
That was 1968. And
okay, a wee while ago. Before I was born, funnily enough, but not to make you feel older or anything. But, yeah.
It was April Fool's Day, 1968. 1st of April, 1968.
Irony. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and that within 2 months, we had the cyclone Giselle that blew down the Golden Downs forest. We had the Inangahua earthquake. We had the Wahine sank.
Oh, of course, all in that sort of couple of years.
All in that early time.
Yeah.
And that made a lot of difference to Nelson. We got a big dredge, came into the harbour and dredged the harbour, and the ships came in to take the logs that had fallen down. They chopped them, cut them up and exported them away, and that was the beginning of the log trade, which has still goes.
Yeah,
goes
definitely.
On.
Yeah, Nelson, without logs, we wouldn't really have much, would we?
No.
Logs and
and
fish.
Fish and fruit, yeah.
Absolutely. So did you sort of, so you did that role here in Nelson for a while. What did you sort of progress? Because I see you've did a few different roles here in Nelson with the port company and a few others. So what other sort of roles did you sort of do locally with the port or other companies?
Well, I did a little bit of teaching up at the Fairfield House. Before Fairfield House was renovated, they had a room there that wasn't going to fall down, and I taught some of the local businessmen how to navigate their yachts around. I forgot where I was going with that one.
No, that's all good. So you did a bit of teaching up Fairfield House.
Yes.
And,
But then after the harbour master at the time was Captain Ron Murphy, and he resigned after about 2 years, and his deputy, which was Gilbert Inkster.
That's the name. That seems
Yes,
familiar, that name. I'm not sure why.
He taught me all I know about piloting, and he was a mentor to me all his life. And he became the harbour master, and he stayed about 7 years as harbour master, and decided he was going to go back to sea. And I moved up to harbour master.
Yep.
At that stage, which was about 1970 something.
Yep.
Well, there was lots of extra things involved in being the harbour master.
I bet. Yeah.
Which didn't really attract me at all. And after about 5 years as harbour master, I decided I couldn't handle that anymore.
Probably the paperwork and compliance and all that stuff, was it? I suppose a bit of that.
Yes, all the bureaucracy that's attached to it. But in the meantime, like when I first came, the fishermen thought I was the new compass adjuster, as I probably told you.
Yeah.
And I got my compass adjuster's licence. And when I decided to come ashore, I thought, well, that'd be the basis of a business.
Yes, definitely.
On its own, it was not sufficient.
Yeah.
But after I resigned, there was a requirement for a pilot in Wanganui.
Not one of the easiest places to get in and out of.
That's where I got
Wanganui River.
Wanganui Bar is where I got all my grey hairs.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, that's interesting. No, yeah, there's still, there's a few boats still go in there, but every one of them doesn't enjoy it, do they?
No, they don't enjoy it.
Scary place.
I don't know whether people now remember Pam Williams. She was the.
Was that Wanganui Fisheries?
Yeah.
For memory, I think that might have been Wanganui
Trawlers or
whatever. Yeah, trawlers. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I've heard that. Yep.
Yeah, and she built a fish factory there, a processing factory.
Yep.
And she chartered Korean fishing boats, and they all had to have pilots. So I averaged over 7 or 8 years. I was up there every week.
Oh wow!
Either taking a ship in or a ship out.
Yep.
And I had some scary, interesting experiences up there. Yeah.
I would bet, like weather. What's your worst? Sort of southwest, west southwest would be the worst there. I don't know much about the Wanganui part.
If you come anything from the north or north of west, and the set goes to the south at Wanganui quite strongly, and anything from the south of west. Send a set to the north.
Yeah.
So you've always got a set one way or another.
Yeah.
It was just a difficult place to handle. But it was a great experience, I must say that, yeah.
Well, I guess if you're spending time piloting boats there, then, the likes of Nelson would be a sort of a walk in the park, wouldn't it, really?
Yeah. Yeah, well, then, because soon after, when did the Mikhail Lermontov incident?
Oh, I should know that. I was talking about it not so long ago. Would that have... Yeah, I don't know. And I know Colin McCauley, who we've done a video on.
Yeah.
And actually Mike Harris, they were some of the first two fishermen there. And Mike Harris of Havelock, if you're listening to this, you are on my podcast card. Sorry, my guest list to come and talk about the Lumentoff, but would it have been the late 80s?
No,
maybe,
it was before that.
Or early 80s. Yeah, it was a long time ago, but yeah, it was definitely it was a big event. For those that don't know, she was a sort of a large, pretty much a cruise ship, really, wasn't she? And she was Russian cruise ship, and decided to go between Jackson's Light and the land, like a lot of vessels do, which is a perfectly acceptable shortcut. But I assume, I don't know the facts, that she might have drawn a bit more water and needed a bit more water than was available, and the rest is history. She's still sitting on the bottom there somewhere, isn't she?
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, as a result of that, Picton had no pilot. And the pilot at the time rang me up and he said, "Can you think would you like to get a licence for Picton?" Because they did have a deputy for a little while.
Yep.
And Gilbert Inkster did have his licence for a little while, and was available for a little while. And I said, "Yeah, I'll come and get a licence." So I went over to Picton, drove to Picton, drove with the then previous pilot down to the entrance to the Sound, came back again, had a half an hour with one of the ferry masters and the local man, and got issued with a Picton licence. So
that sounds like quite a long, strenuous process, doesn't it?
And I went straight out that night and brought my first ship into Picton.
Oh, wow. But I mean, look, obviously they knew you had a reputation, and you were well skilled
I had
and
a lot
well
of experience
qualified.
by that time, yeah.
And I mean, other than the entrance in Tory Channel, it's just a bit of navigation, getting in and out, isn't it, really? And a few willy wars, I do suggest. Quite a few willy wars.
They had no tug at the time. Now they've got two big tugs there, over there, but they had no tug at the time, so that you had to be a bit careful and make a judgment as to whether you could handle ships in the wind and that sort of thing.
Yes.
But that was so at that stage I had a pilot's licence for Nelson and for Picton and for Wanganui. And then I picked up one at Tarakoe because they wanted to export a bit of, or take gypsum into Picton, I think, into Tarakoe, I think it was.
Yep.
So I got a licence for Tarakoe as well. So I ended up with a heap of, having resigned from the Nelson Harbour Board, I was picking up this other work, and it turned into became a situation where I could make a living, not a great living, but I could pay the mortgage, and I could eat, I could keep the family fed, and have a very interesting life, because I loved that. Piloting ships was just I just loved it. Yeah.
Pretty diverse, and I guess you get to meet. You get to jump. You meet some great people, like all the officers and crew, and of course all the different vessels. I bet it'd be quite an interesting social sort of an experience, wouldn't it? Really?
Oh yes, yeah.
Did you have any? And we won't name it. Did you have any sort of frights, or did you witness anything with some of those ships coming in and out that you do or don't want to talk about? And obviously we've all seen, the ferries have had the odd oopsie of late, but that's what happens with ships, and particularly old gear. Yeah. But is there anything you can sort of remember that sticks in the back of your mind?
I remember having a challenging encounter at the junction of Tory Channel and
Diefenbach, is it?
At Diefenbach, yes, at the Luke Rock Diefenbach area. Where there was always the possibility, if you met a ship a tip ferry coming out of Tory Channel into the main channel, and proceeding up towards Picton, and I'm coming down with a load of logs weighing about 50,000 tonnes at 12 knots. Yeah,
no one's going to stop in a hurry, are they?
Not going to stop in a hurry. So it was pretty important to make radio contact with the other ship, and my intention was always to keep to the northern side of the channel, which was really to the port side of the channel, so that a ship coming round the corner could come straight up. We could pass starboard to starboard, and not have to cross over. One didn't have to cross in front of the other, which made sense to me. But I made this arrangement by radio with one particular ferry, one particular night. And it came out of, popped up at Diefenbach out of Tory Channel and started coming across my bow, and I thought, I'm supposed to be doing that.
Yeah.
And I had to go the other way. I had to go to starboard to let you. I said, I'll have to go to starboard and meet you, let you come down the port side.
Yeah.
Which he did. But he came awful close to Luke Rock, and I came. Yes, I wrote a report about that one. So
it's when the old toes curl up in the shoes and the backside puckers, and when you're looking at something and you go, oh, well, that could have gone pear-shaped, couldn't it?
Yes. Yeah, I had quite a few incidents like that.
Yeah, that little area there, that doesn't surprise me, because obviously when, did hokey and that for, in and out of that channel quite often, it was always that one of our fears, I guess, as a smaller fishing vessel, I was on the Kathleen at the time, was the ferries coming out of Picton, and that, the old, I guess you call it, it's a bit of a dog leg, isn't it, where you go, you turn to starboard, then back to port round Diefenbach, and the gap looks big, but those ferries doing 18 or 20 knots, they close that gap really quick, and you try and sneak across to do the old port to port, but even sometimes you're just not quick enough, eh? So we've all had. I know the area, and I know the risk. It's definitely a challenging spot, but no, that would have been pretty interesting, I think, particularly as you said with the log ships and all of those things. So what did you sort of do after that, Dick? So you did. It sounds like a very interesting job. Where did that lead?
Well, in Picton particularly, the cruise industry was sort of building up. And towards the end there were, they were getting, I don't know how many they get now, but they're probably 12 or 14 or 20 cruise ships. Big, and the cruise ships were getting bigger and bigger. Once, on one occasion, they said they wanted to bring the QE2 into Picton, not into the berth, but it's just into anchor. And they wanted me to fly down to Littleton, which I did. I had a very interesting couple of days on the QE2, which close I got to.
I bet. Any time on the QE2 would be quite lavish and pretty exciting, wouldn't it?
I always admired that ship. It was a lovely looking ship.
It was a real ship, eh?
Like
when you look at it, it's a real ship. It's sort of, you look at photos with the likes of her and the Titanic and all of those beautiful old ships, and I think they were the heyday of shipping, eh? When you look at design and class and the experience. I mean, you imagine a QE2 or a Titanic now. Now, that's a ship I'd go for a cruise on rather than these big white monsters with a swimming pool and 100 pubs,
Yeah, exactly.
They were real ships, for sure.
Yeah, unfortunately, the captain, he decided he didn't have a very good bow thruster, and he didn't think he'd be able to turn round. I knew he'd have heaps of room, and he thought there might be some fog. And I said, no, there won't be any fog up there. And but we got to the entrance to Picton, and he said, well, I'm off to Australia now, you better get off. So I got my pilot boat driver come down and pick me up. But I had an interesting spell on the QE2.
Yep. Yeah, awesome. Yeah, that would have been, not a lot of people have been on that, so that's pretty cool. So it'd be one of those golden memories, I suppose. So did you pilot fishing vessels at all?
Oh, yeah.
So you would have done quite a few of those too, wouldn't you?
Yes. Because the Sea Lords had, there was a procession of trawlers out dragging hokey out of Cook Strait.
Yeah.
And they were the smaller ones, like your Kathleen G and those ones, they didn't need a pilot.
Yeah.
But the Sea Lord boats, the Taimania and the Otaku, they were quite regulars there. And I used to pilot them in the lead up to them getting an exemption.
Yep.
And having to be checked every now and again. And I did do a trip out on I think it was the Otaku. Sea Lords asked them for an extra 60 tonnes of hokey. And they said, okay, we'll go.
And you're on board, so that was it, you're going fishing.
I'm going fishing. I fished, dragged up one tow, and they had over 60 tonnes of bloody fish on board.
Yeah.
And we came back in, so that was, I got a little bit of an insight into what these guys do. Yeah.
Geez, you would have been if you were, because those guys do a friggin' near day trip, just about 24-hour trips in the height of the season, so you would have been pretty busy. There would have been boats toing and throwing. You would have been better off just sitting in a boat in the middle of the channel, just jumping on and off, really. That you would have been pretty busy, wouldn't you?
Yeah, and there were other boats coming in from other companies at different times.
Yeah.
That weren't familiar with it, took a pilot.
Yep. You would have gone up and down a pilot ladder a few times. Have any? You always hear these stories about near misses with pilot ladders. Did you have any scares, frights getting up and down a pilot ladder?
Fortunately, I didn't, but I saw the most horrendous accidents I think I've ever seen on a pilot ladder. I was going out to adjust a compass on a Russian trawler when the Russian trawlers were, well, we still get them here.
Yeah.
But at the time, I was a persona non gratis with the port company, and I wasn't allowed to pilot ships because I was working for myself, and we'd had a
conversation. A long story,
yes. Anyway, the pilot, he didn't want to stay on board while I swung the compass, so he got the launch out and to go board the launch and go home, and he jumped on the pilot ladder, which was rigged from the bridge right to the water. It was quite a long one. It would have been probably 10 or 15 metres.
Yep.
And he stepped on the ladder, and the two ropes carried away, rotten ropes, and the pilot and the ladder all went down in a big heap, and I was leaning over the side watching it, onto the pilot boat, and he broke both his legs, his ankles, and subsequently died as a result of that. But I couldn't help thinking that if he hadn't done that, I would have been the next one on that ladder.
Yeah. That's true. He saved your life, but unfortunately it cost him his.
Yeah.
Wow, hindsight's a wonderful thing, isn't it?
Yeah. But there was no compensation or anything applied to. He got nothing out of it at all.
Wow.
Just a bad experience.
That must have been a few years ago, was it?
Oh, yeah, quite a while ago, yeah.
Yeah, well, and there's pretty tough standards on pilot ladders now. I think they've sort of just revised them, and the boat's got to do almost daily checks, but still quite bizarre, eh? You use that natural, rope, no synthetic, and of course it's impacted by the sun and chemicals, all those. I don't get it, but then I'm not meant to, I suppose, but there's still a risk associated with them, but.
The Russian trawlers we get now their standards are, way ahead of what they were in the early days.
Yeah. Now I've done quite a bit of health and safety with the Sea Lord Russian vessels and that. And no, they're well up there. They give the Kiwi boats a bit of a run for their money at times, to be fair. So not that the Kiwi skippers listening to this will be going, bollocks, but I've been on a lot of Kiwi boats and a lot of Russian boats, and I know the standards. So
and they don't. I don't think they offer you vodka like they used to.
No, I've got to say, as the health and safety guy going on the boat, so I never got offered vodka once, but many, many years ago when I was about 18, this is before I was actually fishing, we used to go on board and back in the day, and we would drink a thing. They used to do a bit of a home brew. And it was pure alcohol, and it was called Samagon. And yes, I had little bits of Samagon. They'd have these little wee stills. I think it was like potato liquor or something like that. And I remember one of the crew, one of the officers, giving me this little shot glass and of this Samagon, and I was just about to scull it. Like as you do, he gives you a nip glass, and down you go. And he goes, and I had it at my lips. He goes, wait. And I says, what? He says, don't drink all or you go blind. I'm like, what the? And I literally just put it to me lips, and my lips burnt. And I said, no, I'm okay. So, I don't know. She's pretty strong stuff. But again, those days are well gone. I don't even think they're allowed beer on board now. But
the first thing a skipper used to do was say, have a vodka, pilot. No. I mean, as a pilot, I never had a drink 24 hours before.
Well, that's like giving your taxi driver a beer, isn't it, really? Yeah.
But they'd pour the vodka, and I'd just put it on the window.
Yep.
And take the ship out, and he's expecting me to drink this vodka, and just to satisfy him. The launch is alongside, and I'm outside in the bay, out of the channel.
Scull it quick.
Scull the vodka and get down the ladder before it had any effect at all into the safety of the pilot boat.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's risk mitigation 101, Dick. I like that. That's it. Yeah. So you needed to save face and not upset the client, but you were managing your health and safety. So scull quick, get home quick, and you're good to go. But yeah, no, that would have been interesting. They were great, wonderful times, eh? Like when you look back at little stories like that, sort of make a difference, eh? That's definitely. So you were doing all the piloting in and out of Picton and all over the place. Sounds like you're having a bit of a blast. Went on to QE2, did some cool things. So how did this compass adjusting thing happen? You touched on it a bit before, as the Nelson fisherman just assumed you were a compass adjuster. I don't know why that. Maybe they heard that you were Captain Richard King and thought, oh well, a lot of these foreign going masters compass adjusters. So how did that come about? Like, what happened there?
Well, I thought, well, there was. I didn't think of it as an opportunity. I think there was the mutterings were going on that they needed a compass adjuster here because the fishing industry was huge, yes, and it was getting bigger in Nelson at the time. Yeah. And it was huge then. There was in behind the main wharf. There was they were rafted up 2 and 3 abreast.
You'll remember the frog pond days, won't you?
Yeah,
I remember them. I was young. I remember I was there. I was a young fella on the wharf catching herrings. Getting told off for getting in the way. Yeah.
I've got a little story about those boats too.
Please do tell us a little story about those boats.
Because the frog pond was on one side and the tanker berth was on the other side, and that's the main wharf.
Yes.
And one evening, it was about tea time, there was a tanker sitting at the main wharf there. The fishing fleet were all in, 2 or 3 abreast there, and a southeasterly came up, and the southeasterly is a horrible wharf wind in Nelson. It comes whistling down the valley, and nothing there for a couple of minutes, and then woof, it comes through.
Yeah.
And the bollards, it's all been rebuilt since then, but the bollards were getting a bit weak at the time, and the tanker started pulling bollards out and parting ropes, and I got an urgent call from the watchman to say that the tanker was breaking adrift.
Oh dear.
And I shot down there, and there were fishermen on board some of these boats. I commandeered as many as I could, and they all shot out of the frog pond round the other side, and there's about 6 fishing boats, all on the other side of this tanker, which has got the sterns sort of hanging out into the harbour.
Yep.
Pushing as much as hard as they could to get
the bloody... So they all had the bow up to it, pushing like nobody's business.
Yeah. Safely got the tanker back alongside, and we got some more ropes out and stretched them out to different bollards. That was a...
Well, it proves that fishermen can do anything. Pilot, they could probably adjust their own compass if they were allowed to. I've actually got some funny photos, like even over at Tally's. This is years and years and years ago, of the first boat I ran. The Destiny G. I mean, she's just 33-foot tiny little thing, and we used her a couple of times to pull. I think it might have been the Amateur Explorer. She was one of the first ones over here. And I don't know what was going on, but it was a tight space, so we'd just grab the bow rope of the old Explorer and on the old 33-foot Destiny, hammer to the dash and just pull the nose out, just get her clear of the wharf so the old skipper could push her into gear and head away. So, but to be fair, the old Destiny G was round. We called her the Jelly Bean. She looked very much like a tug.
Yeah, she was a nice little trawler, that one.
Yeah, she had a lot of power for a little boat. So the frog pond days, so... Yeah, no, they bring back good memories, and I've got a photo. I'll put a photo up of the frog pond. I've got a photo. I think it's in the early 70s actually. The frog pond and all the boats poled up there. Of course, that's all wharf now, eh?
Yeah, it's all wharf
and reclaimed land basically. Yeah. So you're around quite a bit. So with the so you were down there. These things were happening, and then So you went away and got your compass qualification, and then you just spread the word and away you went. What does a compass adjuster do? Because for those of us that, for our viewers that don't know, I mean, obviously, so a compass obviously is used for guidance, and the needle follows the magnetic fields. This is me being really untechnical. I see they were invented by the Chinese somewhere between 200 and 300 BC. Which was, old Dr. Google again, which is pretty cool. But apparently they weren't used for navigation, so the Chinese started using them for navigation somewhere in the 11th century. So they've been around a bloody long time. I think initially they used them on land for surveying or something like that, and then someone realised, oh, these might be useful at sea. So what does a compass adjuster do? What do you do,
Well,
Dick?
Most ships, or almost every boat, has got some steel in it, or iron.
Yeah.
And a magnetic compass obviously has a magnet which naturally wants to line up with the magnetic field, which, in other words, is between North and South Pole. But if you've got a ship or a boat with any steel on it, that steel is going to have an effect on the compass and pull it one way or the other, so that it's not lining up with North.
That makes sense.
The job of a compass adjuster is to establish the difference between where the compass would be pointing if there was no metal there, and what the way it is actually pointing. And you do that with magnets. Just put magnets, thwartship magnets and fore and aft magnets to compensate. And you have some of them have. This one doesn't have balls on the side.
Oh, you can screw those in and out to pull the needle one way or the other.
And they also have up and down ones as well. So that's all. That's basically what the purpose of a compass adjuster is, to bring the compass into a line that's closely. It's not always possible to get them perfectly aligned because the iron is not, or steel is not necessarily symmetrical in the boat. And if it's a steel boat, well, obviously it's
all over the place.
Yeah. Can be.
So is it harder to adjust a compass on a steel boat than, say, a timber boat or fiberglass boat?
If you've got a plain old timber boat without any, we might have an engine, but the engine can affect the compass.
Yeah.
But if the engine's far enough away, then it might not have any effect at all. So you may not have to have much adjustment at all on a lot of wooden boats, and a lot of these alloy boats they built nowadays. Aluminium is non-magnetic, so and they've got an outboard motor which is way at the back, hanging over the stern. In my experience, most of these tin boats, as I call them, the alloy boats, don't require any magnets at all, or very few.
That's interesting to know. Yeah, I guess that's why they say, like maritime rules, that if you'd make any modification to the vessel, and e.g. we put an anchor winch on the bow or a new steel mast or something like that, then you got to check your compass, particularly if it goes more than 5 degrees out. Then you've got to get it readjusted. So that makes sense. And that's interesting. The way you explain that actually makes a lot of sense, particularly with the impact of steel. I mean, funny story. Not long after we launched the Kathleen G, so she had standard old 100mm Sora magnetic compass, nothing fancy. And it was going good as gold, but she also had the autopilot. So the autopilot had a compass as well, like a lot of modern autopilots. And the little magnetic compass for the autopilot was down in the forecastle. We put it there because it's away from the electronics and no disturbances, and that's where the installer put it. And we thought that's all good. And the pilot worked well for quite a few months. And then I was heading out the bay. I always used to hand steer out the cut and get out there a few miles before I put the pilot on. I put the pilot on, and she was just yawing. She'd go, and she was doing all sorts of weird frigging things. I adjusted all the settings on the autopilot, and I thought, oh, what a friggin' waste of time this is, It was like, and I tried. We were heading down through, I think we're heading to the Straits, and I was still mucking around with this thing all the way down to sort of the Crozils, and I had the guy from Electronic Navigation on the phone going, this pilot's playing up, heaper, rah, getting all shirty, I was like, I don't know, and he said to me, says, there's no metal or anything in the boat being moved around the compass. And I'm like, of course it's not. The compass is in the bulkhead wall in my cabin, in the skipper's cabin, which is all wood, rah. And then one of the crew pipes up and goes, hang on. And he goes down there, and of course what he had done is laid the 6-foot crowbar that we used to use for warps and stuff under my mattress in the bunk. So it was about, a foot from the magnetic compass. So, of course, I moved that. She's all good. Compass is good. The compass and autopilot good as gold. So it's incredible the power of magnetism or metal on buggering up a compass, isn't it, really?
Yeah. I have another story about another fishing boat. that had been fishing up North Taranaki and been pretty successful, but had done a lot. The skipper and his crew had been working pretty hard, and they set sail from North Taranaki to Nelson, which meant they could round Cape Egmont. And his skipper sent the crew down below to get some sleep, and he said he'd keep the watch. And he decided he needed a cup of coffee, went down to the galley, or went to the galley and to make himself a cup of coffee and fell asleep.
That seems to be a common story, Dick. Fishermen falling asleep because of the long hours they do. Yep.
Yeah. And for some reason, the ship went hard a port and steamed up onto Cape Egmont.
Oh.
and I think they got it off eventually. But the background to that, the earlier background to that was that this particular ship, the skipper had been complaining. He said it's. He said, when I'm heading down the west coast, it's got a big error in it. And he said, when I come back, it's okay. Coming north, it's okay. So I fiddled around with that magnetic compass for quite some time. Oh no, this is the autopilot compass. That's right.
Yeah.
The autopilot compass.
Sounds familiar. Yeah.
And I eventually found a magnet in a particular spot that did the job on the headings that were on that particular heading that I wanted. I think it was the southerly heading. Anyway, he took off on his first trip and he came back and he said it worked well going south, but he said it didn't work well going north. So he said, I took the magnet out and turned it around, and he said it worked well coming back. So we had a situation where
you had to have a swivel magnet.
he put the magnet one way going south, and after he'd run aground on Cape Egmont, somehow somebody in Wellington in the head office got to hear about this magnet that was being moved.
The magic magnet.
I had a very long, serious discussion with people from the Ministry of Transport over that.
Yeah, it's an interesting one.
Yeah.
Sounds like you might have had a can of baked beans rolling in a cupboard or something. Something was moving or something and interrupting it going one way.
I never ever got to the bottom of it myself.
But
there were always mysterious or situations that left me dumbfounded as to how we're going to fix it, or can we fix it? And we sometimes could, and sometimes we couldn't.
And I guess that's interesting, eh? And I guess for the non-mariners, the reality is you steer by compass, and let's say if you're doing a long trip to, let's say, Australia or 100 miles or something, 1 or 2 degrees out on that magnetic compass can see you're out dozens of miles at the other end, eh?
That's right. Yeah.
Like they are a critical thing. Of course, everyone these days has got their plotter and GPS and all the modern stuff. But so it sounds like you've had a huge history. Anything else that's really highs and lows, or something that really sticks with you?
Yeah, the biggest highs have probably been doing these delivery jobs of new fishing boats. That Peter Daly, he got me to. The first boat I did for delivery was the Shimara. I think most people have heard of the Shimara.
The Shimara is owned by Tony Threadwell Pegasus Fishing at the moment in Littleton, and she's been converted to a trawler.
To a trawler.
She's back to a trawler, but the wheelhouse has gone forward, not aft. So she's with an A-frame at the stern, so she's completely different. I'll get you some pictures and you'll be interested. But she's looking good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it won't have the lucky penny on it.
The lucky penny. Tell us about where's this lucky penny? Tony will be listening. He'll be looking for it.
Well, she's sitting there. We flew to Scotland with Robbie. Robbie Bloomfield was with us. And she's nearly ready to go at that stage. They're doing the last minute things, and the name of the guy, I've got it written down, but I can't think of his name offhand. He got me aside. He said, and he gave me a little coin. And he said, and he had a broad Scottish accent, Gaelic. You could hardly understand him.
Yeah.
He said, that's a lucky penny, boy. And so look after that. So I thought, I've got to look after this lucky penny. So I glued it up in the skipper's cabin, up in the bulkhead.
Oh.
And we had a lovely trip out from Scotland, and she caught a lot of fish while she was out here. And after several years, years went by, and I was doing the compass one time, and always used to have a look, see if the lucky penny was there. Well, for many years it was there.
Yeah.
Then all of a sudden it wasn't there. And I didn't dare tell the skipper the story of the lucky penny in case he thought that his luck had run out.
He's probably going to know now, so I'll get on the phone to the owner
It's such a long
and say, where's this friggin' penny? That dropped everything. Look in the bilge. You need to be looking everywhere for that lucky penny.
Yeah.
Typical boats and superstitions, though. There's always that one little quirky thing. A lot of superstitions with boats, without a doubt.
Yeah.
So your vessel delivery. So any other sort of highlights that stick out for you in your career?
Well, the first deliveries were when the Chathams, when I first came here and first got going with licence was 68 I started, but in the early 70s the boom in Chatham Islands crayfish.
Yes, yep.
And all these fishermen who wanted to go and make a fortune out of crayfish had to get down to the Chathams to do it. Well, in those days there was no GPS and chart plotters.
No, true.
They needed people who could handle a sextant.
Yeah.
And Gilbert Inkster and I were pretty familiar with the sextant. So we were, our spare time occupation was riding on fishing boats to the Chathams and back.
That's interesting. Because we talked about the Destiny G.
Yes.
She was built for the Chatham's cray boom, so Grandad built her and
that's right.
they steamed her out there, I think, with 2 or 3 other boats. So
we used to go in convoys.
Yep.
And they had to have a convoy commander who was a guy with a ticket, a master's ticket and a sextant.
Yep.
And that kept, and it paid us quite well too. That occupied us for several years.
Yep.
Carting.
So you've had a lot to do with fishing. I mean, the old, you sort of don't realise, like piloting's pretty important for fishing and other boats, So you've had quite a bit to do with the fishing industry over the years.
I've had several other deliveries, the Amatel Explorer and the Ocean Ranger.
Okay, yep.
Yeah,
so you brought them out.
Both them out.
Excellent.
And I do you know Scruff?
Yep.
I can never know his other name.
Yep. Scruff. That's his name.
He had the Resolution.
Yep.
I took him across to Australia.
Yeah.
And I took the Daniel Sonder up to Japan, the first load of tuna up to Japan for Charlie Hufflett.
Yep.
So.
Geez, well, you've been involved in the pioneering of some of these fisheries. Daniel Solander and bringing like the Explorer. I mean, little story about the Explorer. I mean, when she arrived, I was only young, very young, I think, and I still remember it's the first time I got drunk on Steinlager. Because they had the boat launching, they had a big marquee out on the lawn. Tallies was slightly different over there before, and it was the sort of the party, and I still remember it was a stinking hot day, and I had too many of those Steinlagers, and I think so. I haven't drunk Steinlager since, Dick. It was the worst headache I've ever had in my life, but that was a pretty special day for the fishing industry and New Zealand, really, when the old Explorer came out. But yeah, I didn't realise you brought her out, so that's well done. Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, no, she was. And she's caught a lot of fish since then.
Oh, and she and still is.
And
she still is. Doing very well.
And who was this? Oh, I can't remember. I think. What's his name? Rick. Rick
Tridger.
Yeah, well, because John, I had a lot to do with John.
Yep.
And the whole Tridger family, really, because John I worked with piloting for years and years and years.
Okay.
And his brother, Rick, was on the Explorer.
Yep.
He was the mate, or one of the mates on the Explorer, and his old man, his father, Albie Tridger, was my mate on the Shimara for that voyage.
They're all well-known names, in the fishing
yeah.
industry, without a doubt.
Yeah.
There's no doubt about that. So what have you seen as far as, you've had a reasonably lengthy career in the maritime sector. What have you seen? What would be some of the greatest changes, you reckon, like whether it's technology or people or boats or, I don't know, you've lived a long and full life. What surprises you now, or you look at now and go, bloody hell, I never thought I'd see that?
The technology, the electronics.
Yeah.
That's just amazing the way that's changed. Like I said, when I brought the Shimara out, the only way to navigate was by sextant. And there were little things like coming across the Indian Ocean. I'd get up in the morning and no ships. around. I think it look around. No.
Yeah.
To get a fix and find we're a little bit south of the line, bring her of the course line, bring her back up to the north a little bit, and all of a sudden we're in traffic again because we're
you'd wandered a bit.
Yeah, a bit of current or something, or a bit of wind or something had set us off down to one side.
Yep.
Well, all those days, the days when you had to do that sort of thing and work on dead reckoning and where all you had to rely on was the compass.
Yeah.
That's where the compass was pretty important.
Yeah.
Because there were occasions where you couldn't get a sight with a sextant. You've got to have stars or moon, or you've got to be able to see the sky.
Well, the sextant and all that celestial navigation, all those things, all that did me head in learning some of that stuff with me tickets. I've got to say, I thank goodness for computers and calculators and Stabmaster programs to work out stability and all of those things, Like the manual process was pretty darn hard. So with the, just going back to so throughout your life, what have some of your hobbies been? I know you talked about the spray earlier on, and you had a little bit of involvement with her, but what have you done in your spare time? Played with boats, I assume, or gone fishing or something like most of our guests?
Funnily enough, I don't. I like taking people fishing.
Yeah.
I don't specifically enjoy fishing. Don't like sitting with a rod waiting for a fish to come on the end of it.
Yep.
But I'll bait people's hooks up for them, and I'll take the fish off the hook, and I'll.
Yep. Cool.
and drive them out to the fishing ground and take them home again.
Yep.
So I enjoy that.
So you're the ultimate host.
I'm the host. Yeah. And I started with that a lot. I had a charter operation here for a while with a catamaran called Top Cat, which some people might remember.
Oh, okay.
And I used to run people down, people 20 at a time down to D'Urville Island. And Tom King Turner. He was my fishing master. He was a great guy.
Great guy. And he'd know how to catch fish too.
He knew how to catch fish and he knew how to tell stories.
Yeah. I certainly did. I miss some of those old guys, Like the old fishermen. The stories were just amazing. Yeah, absolutely.
He guided me through the hole in the rock down there.
Yep. You don't want to get that wrong.
No,
I bet your master mariner pilot's backside would have been you would have been tweaking a bit going through the hole in the rock.
The first time I went through,
you would have been twitching, thinking this is not how it's meant to be, eh? Yeah, it's definitely a bit of it's character building.
Yes.
So what about, because we talked about the old spray, you're saying that you did a little bit of, so the spray, just going back, that was a replica's
Slocum's replica.
Yeah, Joshua Slocum's, and I know Grandad had it for a while and did a bit of work on it, and I think she's actually she's owned by John Wilson, Able Tasman Enterprises, a Wilson experience over there now, and he's got it. He loves it to death as well. But you had a little bit. What's your fascination with an old Chesapeake Bay oyster boat sailing sort of scow? What was your involvement with that?
I was always fascinated by when I realised that there was a replica of the scow of the spray in Nelson.
Yep.
That just blew me away, really. And there it was, sitting behind old Jack's shed, your grandfather's shed. And I went in to see him. What's happening to this boat? Well, the story was that a chap called Brian Troy.
That's it, Brian. He started it.
He started it. He did. He was meticulous in his measurement of the dimensions of the hull.
Yep.
And the frames and scantlings of it, and started building it, but for one reason or another, I don't know what it was, he ended up. I don't know whether he sold it to Jack or not.
Yeah, I'm not sure what the details were behind it, but it sat there for years.
It ended up behind the shed there, and Jack was when it was a bit slow in the boat building.
They'd do a bit of work on it.
They'd do a bit of work on it, and I used to go in there and say, "What's happening to the spray?" "Oh no, well, it's not for sale."
Yeah.
And eventually, after many years went by, and all of a sudden he said, "Well, you're interested in it?" And I said, "Yes."
Yep.
"Well, do you finish it off?" He said, "And I'll work out some figures."
Yeah.
Well, we finished it off, but we didn't. The figures he came up with were a little bit on the high side for me.
Unfortunately.
But I did get a summer. We launched it in the marina here in Nelson.
Yep.
And my son and I, our youngest son and I, took it off down to D'Urville Island one summer.
Yep.
And cruised around down there and came back. And when I decided I wasn't going to actually buy it,
yep,
Jack said, I'll put it back behind the shed. And I said, well, I'll look after it for you. But he wouldn't have that.
Yeah. Good old granddad. And he did put it back behind the shed.
He put it back behind the
probably
shed.
Probably sat there for another 10, 15, 20 years.
Probably caused another plankatou to rot out.
The old white pine. It's never the best material, isn't it?
But, and then he sold it to John Wilson. And
that's right, yeah.
It did come back in a few times to have planks replaced.
Done a bit of work to it. Yeah, definitely. Oh no, so you're into.
I'm always interested in what's happening to the spray, and I think John's still got it. And
yeah, he's still got it. Yeah, I have it. It is over, I think, up the sort of the Rewalker River and estuary there somewhere, which is. I'll try and get a photo of it and put that up because she's definitely a bit of an icon, and of course the history with it is amazing with the old Joshua Slocum story. So I guess we'll start sort of winding it up now, Dick. I asked some of our guests this, I guess. So, you've had a long life in the maritime sector. Any advice for the young or the government, or you've earned your stripes. You've made a career in the maritime sector. You've started and pioneered, bringing some of the boats out. Like we said with the Explorer that started the deep water fishery. So you've been at the spearhead and the forefront of industry growth, changes, developments, with some of the simplest things like adjusting a compass has taken you around the world and been able to influence many, many industries. Any advice for young people today or the government that you think you can say without getting us cancelled?
Yeah, well, one of my there's a couple of things. One is one of my mother's old friends when I left home to go to sea. She said, "Don't procrastinate. If you've got something to do it now." Well, that's
good advice.
Good advice, which I haven't always followed.
Me neither. Yep.
Having said that, just give us a second. I'll think of the other one. Doors close and doors open. You think you're onto a good thing, and it's a good thing for a while, and then it turns out it's not such a good thing. You've done something and it's not turned out right. Don't get down about it, because something else will turn up. But keep your eyes open, in other words, for an opportunity. And if an opportunity comes, grab it.
Yeah,
that's probably. I've always thought that, and that's one of the things I've always done. When the harbour master at Picton rang me up and said, "Do you want to get a licence for Picton?" I said, "Too right, I do." And I had the same request from Timaru one stage. They said, "Can you come down and get a licence for Timaru?" And I drove down to Timaru, and I went out on a ship with the one pilot who was there, who wanted to be relieved, and did a trip out there and came back up to Nelson, and never heard another word. So nothing ever came of that one. Yeah. But other opportunities have come up, like the fisherman saying, "You must be the new compass adjuster." I thought,
I guess I am.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I guess that's really wise words, eh? So your mum was obviously pretty sharp. So don't procrastinate, just get it done. And if a door closes, another will open. I guess life's a bit like a rotating door, isn't it? Sometimes you get thrown in and thrown out. But rule of thumb, and I tend to agree. A door will close and you'll think it's the end of the world, but then boom, within a matter of moments, another door will open. You've just got to be brave and take that step, don't you? You've got to walk through that open door and make it your own, because fortune favours the brave, doesn't it? Largely,
right. So
yeah. Take a chance, and you get it wrong. Like a failure is a learning moment, right? Isn't it? And
That's exactly right.
Yep.
It is.
We've all failed. We've all got it wrong, and that's what we call life, and that's because we're humans. So anything else? Any last thoughts? We'll close it up now. So any last thoughts? Anything else we haven't talked about? Anything else you'd like to mention, Dick?
You mentioned the government too.
Yes. Yes. Feel free.
It's been sad to see our shipping situation just quietly die.
Yeah.
Where we could. New Zealand's a very long, narrow country. Admirably suited to having shipping running up and down the coast. Yeah. And we haven't got it. We used to have it, and we haven't got it now. Which is sad, but that's the way it is.
Yeah.
But I don't know whether that's ever going to change. It might do.
Yeah, and that's a good point. I mean, and I think the likes of the Kaikoura earthquake and things like that identified that one earthquake, the trucks stop, the roads stop, the country stops, and yet we've got no coastal freight. We've got the odd coastal freighter like Anatoki and a few others that do a sterling job. But the reality is, people are worried about the roads and the potholes and emissions and all of that stuff. And the ships are the answer to all of that stuff and a resilience in an emergency. I mean, they're talking about this, what is it, the AQ8 or whatever, this so-called big alpine fault earthquake that's meant to come in our lifetime. And well, the answer is going to be that the roads will be gone, but the ocean will be open for business. So if we're not bringing a coastal freighter network in, or ships or barges or whatever, then we're exposing ourselves to more risk, aren't we? Without a doubt. So no, that's awesome. Thanks for coming, Dick. It's been bloody good. And like I said, if there's any other stories or anything else you want to talk at a later date, we are going to do a round 2 with some of our guests. But really, really appreciate it. Look, thanks on behalf of the fishing industry and maritime industry, everything that you've done, and all the different industries you've supported. So, we really, really appreciate it. And I wish you well. So.
Yeah. Well, thanks very much for that, Darren. Great opportunity. I jotted things down over in recent times, and I wish that I'd started jotting things down when I was, or kept a diary even when I was younger. Yeah. But I things come back to my mind, and I write them down, and I think that one of my grandchildren or great grandchildren might wonder what great granddad did.
Yep.
And this is all. This is a part of that in my mind. And thanks for the opportunity to do this. I appreciate that. And what you're doing, I think, is also, it's great for the industry. People, there's a lot of knowledge in the industry that if it's not recorded, then it disappears.
Yeah. Yeah, no, thanks for that. And I agree with that 100%. The reality is that family get a kick out of these. All the guests that we've done these for, the guests might be a little bit, I'm not sure about this, I feel a bit awkward. But then once we post them and their families and their grandkids, locally and internationally, once they see it, it gives them joy. And I think our guests actually love telling their story. Yep. And look, this will go online. It'll be online as long as there's an internet or a YouTube, Dick. So you'll be remembered forever and a day just through this experience. So thank you, and I definitely wish you the best going forward.
Yeah, thank you very much.
So there you go, folks. So hopefully you enjoyed that with Captain Richard King or Dick. Please subscribe, leave us a comment, hit that like button. We need to continue to have that going so we can grow the channel and keep doing these. So thank you very much, and we'll see you next time.